What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. What am I going to be speaking about in today's video? Did the universe make a mistake with the human ego? Is the human ego something that should be neglected, something that should be feared, something that should be thrown away and discarded as if it has no place within existence itself? Was the ego a mistake? Was it a manipulation? Was it a program? Was it something used to control consciousness? This is exactly what I'm going to be covering in today's video. So if this is something that you want to know a little bit more about, you have one thing to do, and that's simply to stay tuned. All right, let me first start with introducing myself just in case you don't know who I am. My name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck, and I'm also studied when it comes to planetary energies in direct association with astrology. So, what exactly am I going to be speaking about in today's video? Well, I discussed that in the title. We're talking about the ego, okay? Was it a mistake? Was it something that the universe did on accident? Was it a different type of beings that programmed it into the human brain to try to control the human species? These are all questions that I'm sure a lot of you have right now and you want to know a little bit more about. Well, first and foremost, the space that I'm going to be speaking about this from is the bigger picture. Okay, I'm going to be speaking about this from a more so source perspective. And the first thing that we need to understand with the source perspective is that nothing happens for no reason. Everything that is in existence exists with an intelligent, divine purpose behind it, whether you understand that or not. So when we look at the ego, yes, there is a large community of people that neglect the ego. There's a large group of people that completely shame, point, and look at the ego as if it is some big mistake within the universe. Like it's the thing that is, keeping us, it's like it's the one barrier that keeps us away from understanding our true potential. And I sort of see where they're coming from, but they're also missing a bigger portion to this bigger picture, which is the fact that the ego, yes, it can act as a barrier. Yes, it can hinder someone's progression, but it is also the tool which allows someone to start becoming aware of the self and make the choice. Okay, so the ego is the tool that every single person has coming into this incarnation that gives them the ability to make the choice towards evolution or stagnation, towards the positive polarity or the negative polarity, towards whatever it is that they're going to be doing, purpose-driven or system-driven. Without an ego, you don't really have a choice, okay? This is where free will comes into play. It's connected to the ego. So with that being said, the reason why we incarnate onto this planet is for the choice. We literally come here for the ego because it's a part of spiritual refinement to be able to incarnate into a vehicle or a vessel that has an ability to make decisions that actually go against your purpose or go against your highest potential. And that act alone is extremely evolutionarily based because you have a choice to do what is in your best interest or to stagnate. And the more you choose that path of the purpose, the more you polarize, the more you evolve, the more the planet evolves, the more the universe evolves. It's just a string effect. Everything is based on power and evolution. Okay, evolution is power, source is power, source creates everything to make sure everything is evolving. Okay? And that's what we come into with these human bodies. That's what we come into. That's what we've signed up for. So I know that there's a large community of people that talk about the Anunnakis and how the Anunnakis are the ones that created the humans, and then they installed the ego to make the humans less aware and so that they could be controlled by them. And yes, there may be some truth to that. I'm not throwing that out completely. But remember, when we're looking at it from a higher perspective, farther out, zoomed farther out, we're realizing that even if that is the case, these beings did that for a reason. They were there installing the ego into the human being for a reason. And that reason, once again, is a source-based principle. It is because, yes, as the human species living on a third, mainly like a third density planet, that's why we come here. I mean, think about it. Like, with the idea that, some people have where it's like, we're victims, we're being taken advantage of because these other entities, these Anunnakis are controlling us because they programmed an ego into us. Well, are you not a soul and a spirit before you become a human body? Did you not make a choice to come into an ego before you had one? Or are you controlled on the spirit realm as well? So the answer is no, you made that choice. That choice was divinely intelligently made. All right. So that kind of throws that idea to the side. These things happen for a reason. And the more you can understand your ego and understand that it does have a choice to make, the more you can start to identify with your soul. But it first starts with the ego. It starts with the mechanism of survival. It starts with the mechanism of, I want this, me, me, me. I need to survive at all times. And the more you utilize that ego to allow yourself to get into certain circumstances and situations which are oftentimes troubling, the more you start to realize that the ego, although it's always trying to survive and do things that it desires, it's not always working for you. It's not always in your best interest. And that's when you really start to get conscious after making mistakes because your ego led you into them, where you start to realize you are in more control over your ego than you actually think. You don't have to make those same decisions or those same mistakes. You don't have to have those same thoughts over and over and over again. You don't have to believe them. You can use your willpower, the soul and the spirit behind the ego, to then redirect the ego. So after a process of going through situations and circumstances and refining your perspective on your ego by making mistakes, realizing what the ego thinks, and then realizing what reality actually is, the more you go through that and the more you experience that, the more you're shedding the ego. So for example, the ego has this idea, it has this belief, and that belief is so real. It's so real to you that your reality is showing you signs of what it is that it believes. So you hold on to it, you believe it, it gives you that sense of security because it makes sense and it's something you can rely on. And because you hold on to it so much and you believe it so much, your physical reality is manifesting that belief from your ego. So it's not only you just holding on to it based on security, but the world around you is also confirming your ego. It's confirming that specific locked-in belief that you have. You can imagine this is people that are, there's many people stuck in this mindset that think reality is their ego. They're thinking from literally an ego projection, but they don't know that. They're not conscious of that. So once again, when you have this locked-in reality and this locked-in belief system coming from the ego, and it shows up in your reality, it feeds itself. It gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And the stronger it gets, the harder it is to break that down. The harder it is to shift that belief system and then open up to something new. Because the more someone believes it and finds that security with that specific belief, and the more it projects itself and the more they see that projection, the more they're buying in to the illusion of the ego. And oftentimes this is used in a very unbeneficial way. Whatever that mindset is or that belief is something that does not serve the person. It's just the ego, it's the mechanism trying to survive or trying to just hold on to something that it likes, that it feels is comfortable. When the soul and the spirit knows it needs to transition, it needs to move in a different direction. It needs to step into the unknown. But the ego doesn't like going into the unknown because it can't control anything. It doesn't have anything to grab onto. It's not sure what is going to be projected in reality. So the ego likes to stay in that same position, that same space. Okay? Now, once again, when something happens, oftentimes that's drastic or traumatic or something out of the blue that shatters that belief that you have. It just comes in and hits you like a train, and what you thought was reality is no longer reality anymore. That belief and that attachment that you had is no longer in existence. It's like it got wiped out of your reality completely. When that happens to you, you are at an amazing place to shed an aspect of that artificial belief that was attached to your ego. And you have an amazing opportunity to start observing the reality that your ego creates these attachments out of nothing. Your ego oftentimes likes to create these beliefs that are based on nothing that has to really serve you, that is based on nothing that really does serve you. And the more you get to see that from that opportunity of going through ego death, where the ego gets proven wrong, the more you're starting to realize that ego is not you. That ego is not you. It is a part of you, but it is not you. Just like when you're in your car is not you. You're in your car. You are you in your car, using your car to get to where you need to go. You are you, your soul and your spirit, in your body, using the ego to potentially get to where you're needing to go or becoming stagnant. It's the same concept. But this is the beauty of nature. This is the beauty of evolution. This is what everyone has. No one is absolutely nobody is separate from this. Okay, and this is something that should not be feared, and it's something that should not be neglected or shamed. It's something that should be actively embraced. Okay, the reality that the ego is healthy. It plays a very, very important role in spiritual evolution. Now, it can at times be hard to really understand that, just because when you look around, you see so many people just lost completely within their egos, completely lost, right? They're just overly identified with everything that they find security in, and they become extremely rigid. And the more stagnant they become on a spiritual soul level, the more inverted their mindset becomes, and that manifests in a bunch of weird ways. But even when that's the case, and even since that's the case, it's something that should still be understood and appreciated, because at some point, everyone's ego is going to get shattered at some point. Okay, within the life experience, at some point, the ego will have to be shattered, because that's why we come here. We come here to realize we are not the body. We are not the ego. We are not the mind. We are behind all of these things, using this as a tool to further our spiritual self-development. And that is the goal, is to realize this concept that I'm talking about. Now, it goes much deeper. What is your purpose? Why did you come here? What polarity do you gravitate towards? How are you going to get to your purpose? Okay, these are the deeper questions that obviously are more so subjective. But everyone has an ego for that reason. It's not a control mechanism. It's not just something that's used to enslave consciousness, and that you're in a position where you can't gain control over your life, or you can't have real spiritual power because you have an ego. As I discussed, nothing exists for no reason. Everything has a divine, intelligent purpose behind it. And even if there was, which I truly do believe, other entities that created the human body and installed an ego, I believe they're doing it under source laws. They're doing it because the source is influencing them to some degree to do that. Why else would they do it? And then why else would we incarnate into those bodies with our souls and our spirits? Makes no sense. So of course, these things are source-based and they have their place within the universe. And we're not the only planet that deals with the ego. You know, all third density planets have an ego. They have the ability to make decisions, whether that's decisions that benefit or work against them. Now, when we move up in densities from the 4th to the 5th to the 6th, that's when the ego starts to really dissolve itself. It's gone. Okay, you're in a very different energetic state by that point, because to get to those densities, you have to had made that choice in the 3rd density. Okay, you had to make that choice between what polarity are you and are you going to follow your purpose? Are you going to live that out in this lifetime? All right. So this was the video that I really wanted to communicate. I want people to be able to have a better relationship to the idea or the concept of the ego, and not just think it's something that's out of place or think it's something that's evil, because it's absolutely not. Although absolutely we have to acknowledge it can get out of hand and many people you come across are completely controlled by it. But once again, everyone has one and everyone has to dissolve it and unattach from it to realize that they are not it and to realize that they are using the ego. All right, that is the process we're all within. All of us can relate to that. And when you understand that, you start to live life feeling a lot more free and a lot more liberated, because you're just not in a weird, confused state as to why is life the way it is? Why do people act the way they do? Why do I think the way I think? Why do I act the way I do? It's a part of this journey, and you should appreciate that. And you should also be inspired to go deeper within yourself and try to uncover what is behind your ego if you haven't done that yet. Okay, there's a lot of people that have not done that yet. They're still identified with their ego. And there are people that are aware enough within themselves to say, yeah, I am identified with my ego. I know I'm a soul and a spirit, but I haven't achieved that yet. I don't know what that feels like yet. I'm still like living this egotistical patterned lifestyle. And I know I am. For example, I know in my life when I was living that way, I knew I was living that way. I was conscious enough to know this is not good for me, yet I'm still doing it and I'm stuck in it. Therefore, I'm trapped in an ego loop, a negative thought loop that's becoming reality on a daily basis. And I knew it. And it was only until I finally just broke it and I shifted where I started pursuing my real purpose, which led me to here where I am right now. That's why I do what I do professionally. All right. So these are things to consider, food for thought, and we'll leave it there. If you enjoyed this video, come down here and hit the thumbs up. Also come down here and hit the notification bell, because I post videos as often as I can. And with content like this, you don't want to be missing out. Come down here and hit the subscribe button, because by subscribing, you're further linking into the content. There really is a psychic component to that. Now, I want to say you have my full permission to copy and paste this link and send it out to anybody, family, friends, social media platforms, you name it. You have my full permission to send it outwards. My intention is to spread this content like a wildfire, and that's what's been happening. So let's continue to do that. Now, also, I'm going to take your awareness to literally the most important link within the entire YouTube description itself. This is the first link at the very top. You can't miss it. This is the Patreon. On the Patreon, I have an entire vault of exclusive occult content. None of this content is on my public YouTube channel, and that is for many intentional reasons. Okay? At this point, it's like a secondary YouTube channel, except everything on there is more advanced and more personal than what you're getting on my public channel. Check it out. As you move into tier number 2, you're gaining access to an entire magic training course, which I feel like would be very valuable, especially if you're a beginner occultist and you're looking for a structured format to follow to start developing your psychic capabilities. As you move into tier number 3, this is the most popular tier of the Patreon, and that alone speaks for itself. This is what's called the Universe.B Vampire Service. So what this is this is a service that I perform on the 29th of every single month that is designed to completely change your energetic structure to be more so Universe.B dominant. So what that means is more so negatively polarized, service to self-oriented. What this does is this gives these individuals an ability to exist within the darker energy areas and locations of the multiverse itself without inherently getting harmed by them, but rather developing knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and potential power from them instead. Now, it also gives these individuals an ability to be more so receptive to their unconscious and subconscious mind, which is feminine in nature. And it also gives them a psychic capability to pull in energy from dark energy and chaos within the environment to transmute into their own power and evolutionary potential. So once again, this is all within that 3rd tier of the Patreon. So if this is something you want to take advantage of, check it out. As you move into the 4th tier, this is the top tier of the Patreon. And in this tier, you get access to all the benefits from the previous tiers. And then you get some bonus content. You get psychic predictions on a monthly basis that are based on your personal zodiac sign. So I pull a card from my tarot deck and then my personally made oracle card deck that is designed to give you the initiatory energies of every single month going into it in the beginning stages of that month so that you can better navigate those initiations and navigate those energies. Okay, once again, all based on your zodiac sign. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out. Tier number 4, Patreon, first link. We'll leave it there. With that being said, I want to give a special shout out to everyone who is a Patreon member, specifically for taking your practices, your studies to that other side. I appreciate all of you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as we move into the second link below, you can't miss it. Second link below. This is where you can book a very unique tarot card reading from me. In this tarot card reading, I promise it's not one you've ever received before. The reason why is because I understand the Kabbalistic tree way more than the average person. What I can do is I can literally pinpoint exactly where you are on that tree, tell you what you're feeling, experiencing, and going through in the present moment, and then what to expect moving into your near and your long-term future based on your positioning on that tree. I've done so many readings, do a reading every single day. If you want to book, second link below. Now, as you go into that same second link below, you have an option to book a one-on-one call with me, okay? This is more so for people that have personal questions, that have been studying my content or doing certain types of occult practices, and you just want to be able to hear my perspective on what it is that you might be going through. So second link below is how you can book that. Now, I also have an option for mentorship. I have a 6-week and a 3-month mentorship. This is amazing for individuals that are getting into initiation and they're wanting a guide like myself throughout that process. So definitely consider that. All of these different services are in that second link below. Now, as you move into tier number 3, this is where you can become a YouTube member. As you become a YouTube member, you're getting access to many different types of benefits, but most importantly, you're getting access to the Psychic Warfare Emoji Program. So what this is this is a sequence of emojis that I've designed myself that are based on real occult principles, and you can use them in a specific configuration, link in the name of a target, hit enter, and it actually causes psychic effects to the target of your choice. It's the most simple form of utilizing psychic warfare through the internet platform, and there are well over 2,000 posts where individuals have already used it. People are even using it right now in this moment. If you want to take advantage of this, you definitely can. Click that third link below, join, become a YouTube member, and then you'll have access. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I have to wrap it up. I got a call coming on pretty soon. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day or night, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.